Hi guys, welcome to Millennial Talk, the show that talks about issues that affect millennials and how to deal with them. This is the third week of January, and of course, I'm your host, Josephine. Now, this year we started with talking about financial planning, and we started the year by talking about setting financial goals, financial planning 101. And we proceeded to investment, a way to success, financial planning 102. Now, today, we're going to continue the conversation in this line, and we will be talking about living debt-free in the 21st century, financial planning 103. Now, I know by now you're like, what's the correlation? Well, the truth is, if you are drowning in debt, there is no way to have proper financial planning because every money that comes in will go into paying off a certain amount of debt. So that is why we need to talk about this so that we can find a way to live debt-free in the 21st century. Now, I know that with the economic situation, inflation, and the constant rise in price of goods and services, I know that living debt-free is slowly becoming a myth. And a lot of people have been looking at it like, okay, loans are an easy way out of money problems. But on the flip side of it, we notice that a lot of millennials are slowly drowning in debt due to accumulated loans. Now, the truth is, loans are good, but how do you manage your finances, even with regards to loans? Now, we're going to be having an elaborate conversation today, but before that, let's go on a quick commercial break, and when we're back, we will dive right into this conversation. Don't go anywhere.
There is time for everything. It doesn't matter if it's food, work, hobbies, or just life. Millennials are always on the go, trying to make things happen. Millennial Talk, enlightening and supporting millennials on finance and growth for personal development. Join us on Millennial Talk every Thursday by 10 a.m. Start developing yourself today.
Welcome back to the show. Okay, so as I was saying earlier, when we talk about debt, we're saying that, okay, now it's slowly becoming a myth. And a lot of people are now wondering, okay, so how do I live debt-free with the country's situation? Well, it's definitely possible. A lot of people who live debt-free are people who know how to manage their finances with a certain mindset and attitude towards their finances. And they also manage their finances responsibly and realistically. But I'm not going to be having this conversation alone today. With me, I have to have an elaborate conversation. Risk and Compliance Manager, TeamApt, Ladidi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So how are you doing today?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm great. We're definitely glad to have you here. We know that you have all the oil on your head to have this conversation.
I am happy to be here.
All right. So we always start with the big question. Give us a brief introduction about yourself and tell us how you got into this line of work, risk and compliance.
All right. Like you said, my name is Ladidi Agidani. Currently, I work with TeamApt as Risk and Compliance Manager. Before now, I was in banking.
Oh.
Right. I spent a couple of years in banking, working across internal audit, operational risk roles. And funnily, a friend of mine, I always say, friends, right, are gold. A friend of mine just sent me SMS one day and says, Ladidi, send me a copy of your CV, you know. And before I know it, I'm having this interview with some fantastic people. And they say, we've looked at what you've done. So can you come handle this desk? And I'm like, sure, why not? Do you think I can handle this desk? They say, we think you are perfect. We've heard so much about you. I'm like, oh, wow. You know, and here I am. I work with TeamApt, you know. So it has been fantastic so far. Originally, I grew up in the north, right? And I came to Lagos 2014.
Wow, long time ago now.
Yes, but to be honest, coming to Lagos was It was it was a huge life apart from where I was coming from, you know. So up north, life was just calm, you know. And I come into this town and I see everybody's rushing everywhere. Where are you people all rushing to? For me, sometimes now, I'm used to it, but when I go back home to see my folks and I come back, I'm like, where is everybody running to? Life is not this hard.
Yeah, Lagos life is like that.
That is Lagos for you. Yeah. Plus, I have the Lagos story of having gotten lost once or twice, you know.
We all have that story as Lagosians. Honestly, I have mine as well.
So, all in all, it has been good. Great. Especially for my career, it has been good. For my exposure as well, has been fantastic.
All right.
Stuff.
All right. Now, we know when it comes to debt, as the conversation, we know that we have harsh conditions in Nigeria. And I could understand why a lot of millennials are, you know, sliding into debts. But the big question is it possible? Is it possible to live debt-free in the 21st century? And personally, from your own point of view, how do you manage to live debt-free?
Okay, so 2 questions rolled in one.
Rolled in one, yes.
So let me start with the first one. I think it is possible to live debt-free, right? But then basically it starts with discipline. Before anything else, one has to be disciplined because, like you said, prices are going up.
Oh, every day.
The inflation rate is almost off the roof, right? So it even calls for more discipline at this time.
Yes, it does.
You know, discipline around how one chooses to live, one chooses to spend. And after discipline, I'll say have a budget.
Right.
Have a monthly budget. Because not just mentally now. I like to write it down. Because by the time I have it written down and I'm looking at it, from time to time, it puts me in check.
Yes, it does.
You know, and I say, oh, where is my money going to? How am I spending my money? What am I spending it on? Am I happy I spent so much money in this area? So those 2 things for me are fundamental, right? The third one is when you have some money, you don't want to just leave it lying in the bank. Oh, because there is always that temptation to just go withdraw an extra spend. 5K, yes. You know, and your friend comes and says, there's this Ashebi, and I can afford it, yeah. I have 100K stored in my account. I can pay. How much is it? 10,000, no problem. But then if you have idle funds put into an investment, that helps. And so I'll say get knowledge. Yeah. Study about different investments. Luckily, we are in an environment where so many investment clubs are coming up on Instagram, on Google. You could just type investment clubs in Nigeria on Google, you know, and you see different options. Yeah. And you choose one that suits you after carrying out your own investigations about it, right? I would not say everything you see on the internet is 100 point exactly. So that investigation is necessary,
very necessary, yeah,
before committing your money to it. But then these 3 cardinal rules at least should have you on a good path: discipline, budgeting, investing idle money.
Right,
should help.
Right, I think I'd agree with you on the idle money because I do that a lot. Like, you know, I feel like pizza this weekend and I'm like, sis, let's go and buy pizza.
You know, so that temptation is easy to come by because you're like, life is for the living, no? Is it only me that just be suffering? But you know, when you have that budget written and put somewhere you can always refer back to, it puts you in line.
Yeah.
So you say, oh, I have this other expense coming up. Right. Am I trading that expense for pizza? Or, you know, what's going to happen to me then? Yeah. So it just helps.
But let's look at it from your own personal point of view. So how do you plan your finances to avoid debts? Because like I mentioned earlier that I understand that people who spend recklessly, but there are also unforeseen circumstances like getting sick. You might not have, nobody plans to, I don't plan to get sick. You know, there's a family member passing away. There's a lot of different things that happen that cause you to spend money that you didn't plan for. So individually, how do you ensure that you are living debt free? Now, personally, I would say I've been in debt situations and they're not pretty. And it's very painful because every money that comes in, you still don't own it because you have to clear the pending debt before you move forward. So how do you do it?
Okay, all right. So I would also say I've not always been entirely debt free.
Oh,
right?
okay.
I've
I
had
guess I'm
debt.
not the only one.
I've had debt at some point in my life, and like you said too, it isn't always the easiest or funny aspects of one's life rather, when you get that alert, but then you just remember, I'm owing 150K somewhere.
Abi.
You know, but then so what? These principles I gave you, I live by them to a large extent. I do my best. But in drawing up my budget now, I try to think, okay, what do I need that I cannot do without? Basics: food, transportation, clothing, health, data.
Important.
Very important. So these 5 things, right? Then I add my rent, because I don't like to get to the end of the year and then start.
It's a hustle.
Then last, miscellaneous. Then I put savings.
Miscellaneous.
Right? So under the miscellaneous budget now, depending on what you earn and depending on what the other major items cost, I now split my budget in ratios.
Okay.
I try to do at least 10 to 20% of my income on savings, investments, then 10% miscellaneous.
Yeah.
So the miscellaneous now for me, I have it at the back of my mind that yes, I could take out of miscellaneous for pizza from time to time, but I can't spend all of it because of the unforeseen, like you said. The health, I am fortunate enough that my employer gives HMO.
Oh, yeah.
And I like to say it's something people should discuss with employers before they join. Do you have a health package for your staff and all that?
Yeah.
So that if they do, go through that policy. Our problem sometimes is we do not read. So go through that policy, know aspects where you can key into and use it whenever you're going to the clinic.
Right.
Because it has been paid for.
Right.
You understand? So that reduces the cost for health, but you still have a budget for health in case.
Just in case.
You know. For food, I do my best to go to the market. It isn't always fun.
It's a hustle.
Yeah.
Especially when you work.
Exactly. But then you just have to try your best to go to the market, because some supermarkets are not actually discount stores. Not to the brand anyone, but then if you are on a budget now and you're having some of your bulk purchases, right, go to the market once in a while. Compare prices across different stores. You know, the little drops end up making an ocean. So just doing all of that, and then the art of saying no.
Oh, okay, that's hard.
That is hard.
It's hard.
I was a yes person, and I had to have that shift from always saying yes to now saying, can I think about it, to saying, I'm so sorry I can't meet up with this request right now. Okay. Can we do this some other time? You know, so learning the art of saying no. Before I say yes, I check, okay, I've written down budget too. I even put headings on each of them. So sometimes I refer back and say, okay, I'm comparing November and December's budget. How was it? Am I doing better than I used to? So when I check my budget, I come back and I tell you, okay, maybe. And I have this hidden principle. You ask me for 50K, I slash it into 2 and take out 10,000. Okay. So I say, I think I can do 15K, not even 25.
Wow.
Some people will say, let me do half. I would still slash and say, can I do 15? You know, because sometimes people will come to you and say, I need 50K, but what they need is actually 15 or even less. They're just pushing to see how much
they can get extra.
Exactly. Plus, you have so many friends now. Use your entire network.
Okay, I think I really like all of these tips, and I believe this is going to work for everybody. There are some of these I need to apply to myself. So let's move on to the next question. Aside from the fact that we have a role to play, I believe that the government has a role to play as well, because if all these economic problems are solved, the burden will be lesser on we to plan for our finance, you know. Let's look at the constant rise in goods and services. Let's look at the inflation rate and so on and so forth. So what do you think that the government can do, and even private sectors, because I believe like the government is one body. If we all put hands together, things can be better for everybody. So for governments and for the private sectors, what do you think they can do to reduce the percentage rates of how much millennials and Gen Z are sliding into debt?
Okay, all right. So for the government aspect, I have two things in mind. One for me is the rising insecurity across the nation.
Right.
Being someone who grew up in the north, I know what it is like to see even the small farmers who don't farm much, may not even be up to a plot of land, but I understand how that impacts on the entire food pyramid that we have today. And those people not being able to go to their farms across the country, that we are beginning to feel that ripple effect. Globally, inflation is an issue. However, in Nigeria, not even being able to go to the farm for those farmers is now impacting on us who do not farm ordinarily. So that insecurity is a problem because beyond farming, you also have the transportation networks, which are not safe. Taking it a step further, I'm aware of some lending apps, that have been naming and shaming people, and it's all over social media.
I actually was going to highlight that. It's really terrible, honestly.
Yes. So I know the government has started to look into that. Some organizations. I would like to use this medium to plead if we could be a little bit faster with that,
Regulations.
to regulate that sector. Because the truth is people actually do need this money. You can't blame them for going to these platforms to request for money from time to time. But then with a little bit of regulation around that space, that should help. Because I would not say I'm in everyone's shoes and I understand and they should not take a loan at all, but then regulation around that space should help. So those two things. And then aside regulation, if possible, monitoring that regulation
too. Because I think, I know that there are a few of these platforms that are being regulated and they don't misbehave, but then there's more like majority that are unregulated. And this is because if you check Play Store, I'm not going to call names, but there's a new one almost every week.
There's a new one every day.
There's a new one almost, and I don't blame people. People are desperate. So they fall into these traps of the unregulated ones because they desperately need that money. And then they become embarrassed. And then it's trending on social media recently. And I also see other people who do not even understand the ecosystem. They just come out and talk about it without being properly informed, because the truth is your information should not be out there like that. That's one of the craziest things about taking loans. You have this embarrassment left, right, center. But honestly, that's why we're having this conversation, because I honestly like it, even if it's not completely possible, because people take business loans as well. But would like to, have people live debt-free to an extent, because when you're doing a business with loans, you're getting profit and paying back. But if you take a loan and you don't have another source of income, it's terrible altogether.
And this also leads me to discuss part of what we do at TeamApt, which, is for us, one of our greatest mission is to create financial happiness, right? So we have our agency network, which is MoneyPoint. We have our payment gateway, which is Moneyfi. I know a lot of millennials are into side hustles.
Definitely.
My hair was gotten from a side hustle.
Oh, okay.
Someone into a side hustle got me this hair, got me the shoes as well.
Ooh.
So I know a lot of people are into that. Alongside that, they could, key into our payment gateway, because what we do with our payment gateway, I'll be starting with our Moneyfi, is we help businesses now set up a structured means for collections in respect of payments, and then also help with reconciliations
as well.
Yes, because today you have these situations where someone says, I've paid, and you say, oh, let me check the bank statement, but then there is an automated way wherein immediately I pay, it notifies you that payment has been made by Ladidi, for XYZ order, and you can immediately begin to ship. Which makes that process more seamless. For MoneyPoint agents, right? I don't know if you are familiar with people who you could either deposit money at their location or withdraw money.
Yes, POS agents.
Exactly. So we are into that space as well. For me, that space too, quite exciting space, right? Because we have people who have come in to that business that we've engaged as agents, and One of them is currently completing a law degree at a
Wow.
university. We have others who have completed, but then I took an interest in this particular one because it was quite fascinating, you know. And I said, so how were you able to do this? And he says, without the POS terminals, I wouldn't have the extra income to go back to school because of commissions he gets on each of those transactions. Also, we have people who have been able to purchase cars, pay their rent, you know, sort out family issues for the married ones. And today, we're even able to say, okay, do you need a working capital as you transact?
Right.
And we have that option available, you know, and that helps a lot of people because just like you said, if I'm doing a business and I put money into that business and I'm making some returns, it could cushion.
Yes.
Exactly. I can pay back and it could cushion my living expenses.
As well.
So for us, these are just some of what we have in store for millennials. There are other items as well that once you visit our website, you contact us. If I begin to roll out everything, we will talk, you know.
Yes.
We will talk and talk and talk. But then for us, it is financial happiness is key.
Okay.
We want everybody to be financially happy, financially sound, you know.
I like what TeamApt is doing, especially with the fact that you can start small and also the fact that they encourage, because I noticed a lot of POS, the reason why the stands I've been to some on the weekend and they're like, we're out of money. And I'm like, what? How do you make business if you're out of money? You know, so if you guys are actually supporting these people, then it helps their business run more smoothly.
So we support them and then we create a network, right? Where the agents are able to discuss with each other, with us in that fora as well, so that we can manage some of these issues you mentioned more effectively, devising means amongst ourselves. Also, we tend to give options. So we see you are performing well, there is room for growth within that network. You know, you don't necessarily have to come in and say you have just one POS terminal. You could get to a point of having multiple POS terminals at different locations. You know, you could also be spoken to if an opportunity comes up, you know, because we also discuss with them and say, oh, yeah, I graduate. Oh, wow, nice. We'll have you in mind if there is an opening within the company. So it isn't just it is not a means to an end. Exactly. Is the word I was looking for.
That's really good because that if I could start something like that as a person, it doesn't matter if I actually have a full-time job or whatever the case may be. This also, you know, helps reduce financial burden and can help me live more independently as well. So let's look at from the risks and compliance side. As a risks and compliance person, I believe you know a bit about managing risk. So when it comes to these living in debt, how do you manage the risk? We've talked about these flaws with a lot of these organizations, but individually, if I am someone who I already am trying to get out of a debt situation, how do I manage the risk with all of this? Now, sometimes people get, I call the word drowning in debt. There's having debt and drowning in it are two different things. So if I'm drowning in debt, how do I manage the risks?
All right. So I'll say first and foremost, I go back to myself now as an example. If I was in a situation wherein I was drowning in debt, what I would do is I would first itemize all of those things, because sometimes we feel that it isn't as big as we think it is. So I'm a Christian, so I would use one scripture if you don't mind. You know, in Habakkuk, it says, write the vision and make it plain. You know, so when you write things down, it tends to give you a bigger picture of what actually you are facing. So I would say, write it down. Right? Write all of the debts, write the name of the company, write the amount. If you do not know the amount, call the relationship manager or contact the company. Ask them, as of today, what is my level of indebtedness? How much am I owing? You know, put it all together. Put down your income. Put down how much you need to spend in a month. Most likely, you are going to need to cut down on some costs. Are you the kind of person who says, I can't go anywhere without taking Uber or Bolt? You may have to go back to taking the bus. You may have to start using Okada. You may start going with Keke, you know, just to cut down on that cost, on expenses. If you were not cooking initially, you need to go back to start cooking, even if it is once a week for the entire week, you know. Then there are so many free resources on the internet. What can you learn? What do you enjoy doing that you could learn that could bring in some extra income? Because your current income may not be exactly.
Yeah.
So you could turn whatever it is you have a passion for into something you could bill people for. Do you like to organize stuff? Is one of your friends getting married? Offer to be her wedding planner for a token, and that will go a long way.
A long way, definitely.
Do you enjoy keeping spaces clean? You could begin to clean spaces for people. And more than half of the population is on WhatsApp, right? So it isn't it isn't a hard and fast rule as to having something so elaborate for a flyer or a poster, Your status, your WhatsApp status is an advertising tool.
Yes, it is.
Use it, advertise what you have to offer. You never can tell who needs that service,
Right.
And at the same time, you'll be building so many skills along the line.
Right.
But those are my points for someone drowning in
Fantastic points, really, because I feel like that's the situation a lot of people are facing, and they will need all of those tips to get through. Whenever I see people in this situation, I feel really bad for them, honestly, because I've been there myself, and I know how terrible that it can be.
It isn't a nice situation to be in.
Yeah, yeah, I do hope that with all of these information that we have put out there, that millennials can now start to tilt towards living debt free. We have the TeamApt option, which is actually a really good one, and you should definitely contact them for more information. We can't give you all the details yet, definitely not. So it's been a fantastic conversation, but we always have like a fun question that we ask our guests. Just we've been talking a lot of serious talk, so now let's
tone it down. Let's tone it down.
So what do you do outside work? If you're not TeamApt, if you're not doing, what do you do outside work?
Tricky question. Wow, what do I do outside work? Okay. But first and foremost, I enjoy reading personally.
Okay.
I enjoy reading. Then I like to discover new places, right? So beginning of this year, I said, okay, I'm going to go somewhere I haven't been before. So even if I had just passed the place, but I had never entered, I was going to enter, and I wrote down a whole bucket list. Don't ask me what's on the bucket list.
I was not going to ask. Okay.
But I wrote down stuff that I would want to do on the bucket list, right? And I started ticking it off. Okay, I've been to this place, I've been to this place, and I'm looking out for, but then I'm
not trying that.
I'm being strategic to doing it, because at the same time, you don't want to do it and blow up your budget.
Exactly.
Sure. So
places are expensive. Really.
So the beauty too in looking out for those places for me has been there is a place for every budget.
Truthfully.
It just takes a little bit of digging, but then there's a place for every budget, right? And you still have fun. Right. You just live in that moment. When you get into that environment, live for that moment.
Right.
Create memories for that time.
So I'll take you as the serious person right now, because even your hobby is serious.
No, but discovering new places is fun.
No, truthfully, it's fun. But I like that. I've asked a lot of people, you hear singing, dancing. This is definitely unique. I love your hobby, by the way.
Thank you.
It's been great and fantastic having you on the show. Thank you for all the insights. And we would like to have you on the show again sometime. So don't be scared when we call you up again and say, Didi, we want to have you on the show again. Okay, we might want to have you. So thank you very much for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you for having me. It has been a fantastic time. Thank you.
All right, guys, it has been an amazing conversation, and I hope that you have learned a lot. And I do hope that everyone watching out there gets financial freedom and eventually start to live debt-free, even in the 21st century that it seems so impossible. For more information on finance, you can visit our website on www.proshareng.com. Keep watching.